Is Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins the kings of the double back? What do I mean by that? Well, the Chicago Cubs apparently are considering talking to the Minnesota Twins about one of their ace pitchers and potentially making a trade for him this winter. Guys, we're going to cover all of it, all the news, everything like that. Can't wait to talk about it. But first, we got to hit you with that intro. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Hey, y'all, listen, I appreciate each and every last one of you guys on this Thanksgiving Eve here in the United States. I just want to tell each and every last one of you, I'm thankful for you. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure that you leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the topic covered today, as well as if you have a topic that you want me to cover, if there's something that you want to hear my opinion on or what I think about, or there's something that I'm missing, please, guys, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, this is our show. We do this together. And like I said, if you have a thought, if you have something that you want covered, get into the action with it, y'all. I appreciate all comments. Thank you guys so much. Now, with that being said, the Twins right-hander Joe Ryan has posted an excellent 2025 season. And again, we're asking ourselves, can the Cubs try to bolster their starting pitching by trading for him this winter? So we're going to break all this down. We're going to look at the numbers. We're going to talk about how he fits in Chicago and what the Twins will probably demand in return. So first and foremost, in 2025, and if you look at his season in the snapshot, Joe Ryan posted a 13-10 record with an ERA of 3.42, 194 strikeouts. That's the big part right there. And then a whip of 1.04. He got an all-star nod and several high strikeout outings in 2025. So, like I said, he was able to go in multiple games and get high strikeout totals in those games, which is something that you didn't see a lot from the Chicago Cubs last year. Matthew Boyd posted probably a one or two games. Shohei Managa did not have the same games where he posted high strikeouts. Jameson Taillon had one in particular, especially towards the end of the season when he really started to heat up. And like I said, Cade Horton did all right a couple of games too. But when I talk about, we didn't see anybody hit 14, 15 strikeouts. So you ask yourself, why does this matter? Why do these numbers matter? Well, the ERA, the strike rate, and the whip shows the strikeout upside and the low walks and solid run prevention that somebody like a prime Joe Ryan can bring to the Chicago Cubs pitching rotation, something that the Chicago Cubs have desperately needed. So we look at this and we say this in a glass vacuum and we say to ourselves, okay, what is he going to bring to the table for the Chicago Cubs? Again, he has his pitching profile. He has a high strikeout to walk ratio. His repertoire and his advanced metrics summary suggests that he's a strikeout inning upside. Um, and again, he offers great strikeout pitching for the Chicago Cubs. And I keep mentioning that. And why is that important? Because that's something that the Chicago Cubs sorely lacked last year. That is something that we needed. I mean, like I said, we've had a lot of pitch to contact type of pitchers that either get outs through the air or get outs on the ground. But without having Justin Steele last year, we did not really have a strike them out pitcher, somebody that would just like overpower you, or somebody that was able to manipulate the ball to be able to get you out. Again, like I said, a lot of our pitchers use the defense behind them, the Nico Horners of the world, the Dansby Swantons of the world, the Peaker Armstrongs of the world, to get their outs. Instead, it would be quite refreshing to get a pitcher that just is unhittable. At least most of the time unhittable with a 3.42 ERA. He does get hit around a little bit. So, again, like I said, to me and my thoughts, if you look at it, like I said, his numbers make great sense for the Chicago Cubs. But how would he fit in the Chicago Cubs? Well, again, he's a front end option on this current pitching staff with who you have. So he will move in between the 1 to 3 slot. It gives the Cubs a high K innings eater to pair with their existing staff. So you're looking at him potentially coming in and being able to put him in between Cade Horton and Matthew Boyd, or um on the tail end of that as your number 3 starter. So if it is Joe Ryan that you end up signing, I would look at it like, okay, Joe Ryan is going to be third on that list. I would go Cade Horton, I would go Matthew Boyd, then I would go Joe Ryan, then I would go Jameson Tyone, then I would go Shota Imanaga. I just think that that would be a great fit for the Chicago Cubs, and I think that they would have a lot of success and see a lot of success because of that. So he gives the Chicago Cubs a great option to just strike guys out. If the Cubs keep several young arms, Ryan adds strikeout dominance and length. This guy eats up 6 to 7 innings regularly. That's somebody that you need and that you want pitching in your order. Somebody that can, let's say, Matthew Boyd has a bad game, or Cade Horton has a bad game, or Jameson Tyone has a bad game, and you need to rest your bullpen because you've used them up. Well, you can look to somebody like Joe Ryan and say, okay, we may need you to go 7 or 8 innings, or we might even need you to go the distance and hand it over to the closer in the ninth. He is somebody that can absolutely do this for you. He's somebody who is strikeout oriented, right? Who is a righty who lowers opponents' on base percentage, which is good for a team that wants to shorten games into its bullpen. If the Cubs lineup is top heavy, a strong starter every 5th day matters in a playoff push. So it's very important that the Chicago Cubs look at somebody like a Joe Ryan, somebody that's going to get the strikeouts, somebody that's going to be able to control the game and shut the other team down. Another thing with Joe Ryan that looks really, really good for the Chicago Cubs should they make this trade is that Ryan is under team control beyond 2025. Now, we've talked about this in last week's episode, and obviously with the Phil Maton uh, signing, we realized that the Chicago Cubs are starting to look at more extensive signings and trying to get contracts where they have more control than just one season. So making a trade, I talked about Sandy Alcantara yesterday. You'd have 2 years of control on the deal if you traded for him. If you trade for Joe Ryan, you would also have 2 years of control over him. And I just think that that really, really helps the Chicago Cubs because he has controllable years. However, for a pitcher of this caliber that does have controllable years like this, he is going to be somebody that you are going to have to give up potentially a pretty penny for. So I need to ask you guys, would you rather the Cubs spend on free agents or buy controllable starters and trade for them? Does Ryan's pitch profile play better in Wrigley or not? I happen to think that it does play better in Wrigley. And again, free and if you're asking me, I like trading more than signing free agents because I just know our club isn't willing to spend that money. I just know they aren't. So in my eyes, when you're able to get controllable salary for multiple years through a trade, I mean, to me it gives you better footing. And you get to see, and if the person performs, then you're able to then turn around and re-sign them. So and you get first dibs on them for that, and you get controllable years. I like that avenue better because I know the Chicago Cubs aren't willing to spend money to sign big name free agents. They just aren't. I mean, that's just what it is. So we look at this and we ask ourselves, all right, so if this is the case, what would the I'm sorry, not the Chicago Cubs, what would the Minnesota Twins want in return? So Twins may trade a controllable arm if they're retooling or topping up position talent. So MLB trade previews listed Ryan among the tradable starters that the Minnesota Twins could potentially trade out. So the impact position and prospects. So the Twins are looking for MLB or near MLB ready bat, especially at a premium position in the infield or the outfield. So they would look at somebody potentially asking for a Kevin Alcantara, somebody that is ready to step into a major league role, somebody that can play the outfield, and somebody that does offer an option that you can immediately plug him into the lineup and he can immediately begin to give you innings, and he can immediately give you numbers, and he can immediately get hits. He can immediately, score runs. Somebody like that is what might be looking for. They also might be looking for high ceiling pitching prospects. Jackson Wiggins comes to mind when you think about somebody like that to restock their rotation depth. And again, MLB pieces for depth, a controllable everyday bat or bullpen arm. I don't see the Cubs necessarily giving up any of those because, quite frankly, we need those. Hell, we still need to finish out our bench and figure out who's going to be on our bench this coming summer for the Chicago Cubs. So I doubt that the Chicago Cubs would trade off anybody like that. Um, when you look at it, the type of packages the Twins will value prospects with top 30 MLB pipeline pedigree or MLB near ready player who fills an immediate hole for them. So again, when the Chicago Cubs are looking at putting together their package, they need to look at these things and consider exactly what the Twins may want. So the Chicago Cubs, I have a couple of different trade package ideas. So a tier one, win now, costly type package where you would trade what a playoff team would trade in order to get somebody like a Joe Ryan. You would trade one MLB impact position player, a top 20 organizational prospect, and a mid-level prospect, a bullpen or starter piece. So the Twins get immediate lineup help plus a long-term lottery ticket. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs get somebody that they immediately plug into their lineup, and they're able to know that he's going to get them high strikeouts and potentially carry them through 6 or 7 innings of a game. The second tier would be a balanced, which is probably the most realistic for the Chicago Cubs. One of the Cubs' higher prospects, the top 10 in the system, outfielder or infielder, plus a mid-level MLB-ready piece or bullpen arm. And this lets the Twins restock with higher upside while the Cubs don't give away their top 2 or 3 blue chip prospects. So the Cubs prospects that are like that, obviously, that you're looking at Owen Casey, Owen Casey, you're looking at Matt Shaw, even though I don't really think you can call Matt Shaw a prospect anymore since he played majority of his time in the MLB last season. But you look at a piece like Owen Casey, that's somebody that you don't necessarily have to give up now because you've traded somebody like Kevin Alcantara instead of trading Moises Ballesteros or trading Owen Casey, who are definitely the tops of the Cubs prospects in their system. And then there's tier C, buy low, low risk. So 2 good low tier prospects, high upside, but further from MLB, plus a salary matching MLB bench piece. And the rationale here is it's cheaper, but the Twins would likely want more given Ryan's control and his 2025 production. So like I said, which package, if you were working for the Twins, which package would you accept or want? So again, I think that this is something that you have to look at. But another thing that you have to look at when you look at potentially trading for Joe Ryan, you also want to look at the fact that there is injury risk. Like any starter, long-term durability and consistency matter. And again, you have to remember that he does have a little bit of an injury history. And you also got to look at the cost versus the reward when you look at trading somebody for somebody like Joe Ryan. Trading a top prospect can hurt your future depth. Are the Cubs front office and fans comfortable mortgaging their future or a piece of their future, not their whole future? I don't expect the Chicago Cubs to trade Owen Casey or Moises Ballesteros for that matter. I would be highly shocked if either one of those guys get traded. But somebody like Kevin Alcantara could potentially be on the move. I have told you guys all offseason long so far that I full on expect the Chicago Cubs to probably trade Kevin Alcantara. I do not see him in the Cubs uniform next year. He'll probably be starting opening day for another team. So that's just my thought on that. So, um, again, Ryan equals a high strikeout rate, a controlled starter who would immediately upgrade the Cubs' top of the rotation. But again, he ain't gonna come cheap. The Twins will ask for high upside prospects or MLB ready pieces. But I want you guys to know to let me know which trade package they'd accept, which trade package would they offer for this. So listen, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, for watching. Let me know your thoughts. The Chicago Cubs potentially going after Joe Ryan, somebody that can stabilize that pitching rotation. I want to get back into bullpen pieces probably on Friday. There is no show. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you if news breaks or something breaks, I may do a special episode. But outside of that, there won't be a daily episode on Thanksgiving. We'll return on Friday. But enjoy your Thanksgiving. Eat some turkey for your boy. I appreciate you all so much. Go Cubs, go.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.